What is financial sacrifice? What does this really mean to your business? How do you take a step forward and bet it all on you because you know the passion that you have for what you want to build impact, for what you want to give your client, for what you want to do for your customers? It's all or nothing. Well, I am Tamoa Danielle, and today we have a special guest. So I'm going to do a great introduction because she deserves a great introduction. We have Kevia Croft. She is a creative genius who is passionate about the client experience. Because of her technical research, she has transformed her customers' journey for multi-million-dollar business. She is the creator and CEO of Content Atlanta, where you will immediately find a space to call home as a content creator. She has literally turned her passion into profit. Kevia is dedicated to empowering the business community by offering her expertise in all things content and branding, and is committed to making an impact for small businesses. We are live at Content Atlanta Studios with Kevia Croft.
Thank you for that amazing intro. I am so excited to be here with you, Tamoya, and it's such a blessing to be able to spend some time with you today.
You too. It has been just a pleasure, even before we started recording this episode, just talking to you, learning more about you. Ironically, I met you almost a year ago.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? And you popped out. You've been doing your thing, and it has been so inspiring to watch. And I'm so proud of you, and I'm so excited about this whole interview. So I do want to say, with Content Atlanta Studios, this is a place for content creators, podcasters, YouTubers, influencers. As a matter of fact, Kevia even has a children's zone, which is absolutely amazing. So you have somewhere, if you have to bring your kids while you produce your content. I think that is so thoughtful. So let's get right into it.
All right.
So what sets you apart from other content studios in Atlanta?
Okay, so I love that question because very early in creating the whole vision for the studio, I had to ask myself that, especially being someone who's not really from this industry. My whole background is finance. So it's kind of like, why is this finance analyst, why is she interested in opening a content studio? And that's part of what makes me different, is I think I'm the person that does not initially would ring the bell to open a content studio. But my inner self, I'm just truly creative. And my whole life has been a struggle between who's gonna win, my analytical side, my more technical side, or my more creative side, my more free side, my more just visual and dreamy side. And this studio is the first time in a long time that I have committed to my full self, and not just trying to honor one part of me, but being able to have a space that honors all of me. And that's what makes this studio different, is just my reasonings behind it. Because I'm so technical, I care a lot about data.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of research before I opened this studio. So one, the location, in full transparency, I didn't pick it. It picked me. And I was honestly looking for a studio for someone else, and I found this studio, and I found it to be home for me. So I signed a lease, didn't have a business plan, because I felt called to be here. I literally felt like God brought me into this space because I was asking him for more in life. And I didn't know what he was gonna assign me to, but he assigned me to this space. And my father knows me, so he knows how creative I am and how I want to pour into people who lack creativity or don't know how to even visually make things real. So that's the whole foundation of Content Atlanta. It's literally a place that was birthed just from a dream of someone who is used to being very cookie cutter and doing the typical things, but deciding I need a space that allows me to be me. That's first, right? That's why I really labeled it the Atlanta Content House, because just like home, you want to feel a place, you want to be at a place where you feel comfortable, where you feel welcomed, where you feel like you can be yourself. And that's the center of Content Atlanta. I know like a lot of other content studios, it's very personless. You know, you'll go there, it's kind of like you just pick up the key and you can make your content, but I want to make impact. So we do things a little differently at Content Atlanta, but it really starts with understanding that this is your place to feel at home with nurturing whatever dream that you have as well.
That is beautiful. And I know you all can't see my feet, but I literally don't have my shoes on because I feel like I'm at home. I told you, are we going to be recording my feet? Because I have to take my shoes off. No, but that is truly amazing. As soon as I walked in here, I was just like, it's an energy, right? And I just felt like, wow, this is such a beautiful space. It feels good. It makes you want to relax into what you do, because I know for me, you know, doing this content and building my brand, you know, over the last year, it's been new to me. And so there's so many times, even with myself when I'm recording, I feel like uncomfortable. Yeah. But to come in here and feel the same warmth that I feel when I'm at home recording, I didn't feel like weird or anything. It just makes you feel present to the moment. So yes, this is just truly a mind-blowing experience for me. So,
I love that.
So thank you. So I want to dive into something. We were at a dinner some weeks ago, and I remember you talking about your minivan story, and just the reason why you started making decisions for you and not really worrying about what other people think. Because like you said, you had to mold and blend these two sides of you to be able to build your business and make impact. So can you talk about that story? Because you're so young, and just thinking about you driving a minivan to me is just like, it's wild. I'm like, why is this young, you know, just vibrant woman driving a minivan? So tell me about that.
Yes. So it didn't start off that way, right? Like I was just like anybody who seeked validation in items, in possessions. And thankfully for me, I have a really good support, my husband, who sees things very differently. And I think that's why I'm so like attached to him, because he does provide a different lens for me to see things through. So yeah, like if you ask him, he's like, I tried to get her minivan years ago, and she was like, what? Why? Never. So for me, it was like, one, being like an economist, I always am very intentional about how I spend my money, regardless. Because one, we don't know what people have, we just know what people show us. And you'll be foolish to believe what people show you represents what they have. That's what they want you to believe. And we all know, you know, the rich never show their wealth by looking wealthy. You know, it's very discreet. Yes. It's only really like, you know, in our culture where we feel the need to show people visually how wealthy we are, because we don't know how to articulate it in other ways, right? Through our conversation, we don't know how to articulate it. Through the things that we're actually doing in our day-to-day activities, it doesn't reflect there, right? So we would go out and purchase ways for us to be validated versus do the work to be validated, you know, internally and truly. And I already knew as an economist, that's how I evaluate things, is based off of, just in general, right? Like economics is the study of the world's scarce resources. Yes. Meaning everything in this world is scarce. So what you decide to spend $1 on one thing means you won't be able to spend that dollar on another thing, right? Because it's scarce. So I just always made decisions that made sense to me financially. And I know there are things that I care about more than visual possessions, like life insurance, like having, you know, retirement accounts, like owning businesses, you know? So I know the things that I will do to validate my worth, right? It won't be in a bag or, you know, in anything that I can just buy and own. I want to work for the things that I have, and I want it to hold true value that can't just be determined by one kind of determining the price, right? Like we can always determine what's the price of a physical good, right? This costs $500, this costs $1,000. The value of ourselves it goes up every day if we invest in it. So my choice to drive a minivan, it supports my lifestyle. I own a content studio and I'm a very independent mind person. So I could wait for my husband to come like drive around the big stuff for me, but I know how I am. I know if I have this huge thing that I have to move and I can do it, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be restricted, right? So I got the minivan because that means I can move like huge equipment. I can move like backdrops.
Yes.
It makes sense for me. I have a daughter, you know, kids, apparently they love minivans.
Right.
So it made sense for me. And a lot of times people don't make decisions based on what truly makes sense for them. They do it because those decisions fulfill a different need for them, like a need to be validated.
I'm telling you are speaking my language. I do want to definitely touch on something that you said. I actually spoke about this before on a podcast that I was on when we talked about our worth, right? As people, specifically African Americans, right? When it comes to us getting money and like you were saying, having to show that on the outside, that mindset that you have, where do you think that comes from? Where you're seeing something, but your belief is different than what you're seeing because you're like, wait, that doesn't quite make sense. Like, where did you get that idea about the wealthy and you know, them not having, you know, the gold chains or the, you know, driving the Ferraris or whatever. Like you may see someone driving a Ferrari. Okay, that's one thing, but it's not where they're necessarily a flashiness that goes on. Like, where does that mindset come from?
I think like partly my parents just watching kind of how they always had more like a casual style, and myself, like I love a more like casual style, and I don't even know where it came from, but it probably came from them. Like I remember being small and going to Banana Republic with my parents, and I hated it. Like I thought it was the most boring store ever until I grew up and Banana Republic became like my favorite store to shop at.
Wow. So
it was like a full circle moment, and I think it was that, right? Like my parents aren't from America; they're from Guyana. So how they would value, you know, how they would dress, and it reflects a lot in the Caribbean, right? Like in the Caribbean, a nice person or a nice dressed person, they're more casual. It's not like a flashy, it's a more dress shirt, dress pants, nice blouse, you know, not like the designer and stuff like that. Because so I think that's like, even in this moment, I think this is the first time I even thought about that. It came a lot from that. And then just growing up, honestly, just hearing about Steve Jobs, right? And everybody was just like, this guy wears jeans and turtlenecks every single day. And I would study that, right? Like, he does have a lot of money, but he chooses intentionally to wear a black turtleneck and jeans every day. And then, okay, I'm growing up and I see it again in Mark Zuckerberg. He wears a t-shirt and jeans like every day. And then I remember I read something that was basically saying that, you know, wealthy people, they make less decisions essentially, or they make decisions more quickly about things. So they don't waste their time on certain things. So for example, like their outfit, they're not going to spend 30 minutes figuring out what to wear every day.
Right.
You know, they're just going to put on because they have to tackle more important things. So I think that's a lot where it came from, is just understanding that that's not where true value, that's not where you invest in. Because these guys are millionaires. If they chose to invest in clothing, then it would make sense to me. But I'm always looking for the truth, you know, and not the fluff.
Oh, that is absolutely amazing. And you're so right, because when you're a creator, and when you brought up Steve Jobs was innately a creator. And so the clothes, okay, yes, he has to dress every day, but at the same time, he was focused on his business. He was focused on how he could make impact, you know, in the world. He had employees to take care of. He had people that were carrying his dreams, that were carrying his passion. And so those things at the end of the day really didn't matter. And so I love that mindset. And it gets difficult, I think, in society because of the things that we see and even social media. And it really takes a special mindset to understand that that is not your value. The money is not your value. You know, what you provide to people is going to be what you get as a receipt, right? What you get gifted with money for providing value, but it doesn't start with that is the value. So we could go on and on. I can go on and on about that. So we're going to move on. We're going to move on. So with saying all of that, what comes first, your daughter or your business?
That's such a great question.
Yeah.
So I actually had an interview before and I was asked that same question. What comes first, my daughter or my business? And my answer was my business at that time.
Okay.
And the reason why I said that is because I know I prioritize certain things in my business world. Like I know like what I need to do for my business.
Yes.
I don't know what I need to do for my daughter. You know, like I'm mothering her and I'm learning how to be a good mother, but like, am I like, okay, we need to find a, you know, now, you know, she's getting a little older, so I'm looking for activities for her now. So it's like, I don't know how to plan a child's life, you know, like, because I'm a first-time mom. And I tend to spend my time doing the things I'm good at just because I know how long it takes me to learn certain things, to be honest. I'm a slow learner. And I like to think of it more like I'm very intentional about my learning process. Like I will study something for hours before I take my first step. And I just love information. Yeah. And I think that's part of it. But I say that to say when I answered that and I explained, you know, I'm doing this for my business, on the other end, you know, they were like, it seems like you think you put the business first, but you're only doing all of these things because you're actually putting your daughter first. And I reflected and I was like, you know what, that is correct. Like that is the angle. I am putting her first because I want better for her. And I want to expose her to things that I didn't have. And I want to see her in an environment where she feels comfortable to be who she is. And I think that's most important to me because I see this world and how it takes people, aspirations, vision, and it just slowly eats at it away and shaves it away and shaves it away to the point that you're not even sure what you're living for. You're not even sure what your purpose is. And I don't ever want her to live in a world where she isn't consistently building that up from day one. And I want her to be in a space where like I don't have to say no to her when it comes to certain things, whether, you know, just like investing in her education, investing in like children want everything, right?
Yes,
they want everything they see. They want, mommy, can you buy me that? You know, can we go there? I want to go beach, you know? So it's a larger commitment to building a better world for her. That's what it is for me.
So it's the business and her at the same time. Yeah. You know, in that case, you can have it all. She's watching you. Yeah. You know, she has, in all transparency, she has her own content room. Yeah. You know what I mean? So how could she not watch you build this and you know, really step into a world that transforms your life, but transforms her life too. Like she's gonna have all of that because she's gonna understand that anything is possible. So that is beautiful.
Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful.
Shout outs to the mamas.
Yes, shout outs to the mamas. Okay, so you have invested a lot of money in here and we haven't even discussed it. I just have to walk around and look and I'm like, she spent a grip in here. And with that, like, how did you make the decision for your business and your finances to basically know what to purchase in terms of bringing that creative mindset out on your for your clients and your customers? Like, how did you know what to choose financially, like for podcasting, you know, or for just regular content or whoever's coming in here to do whatever they need? How did you know what to buy? Since you said, you know, you just took the step forward, you just found the place, you didn't have a plan. Like, how did that go, you know, as you move through this?
So I hope I'm not being too long-winded.
No.
Okay.
No, there's no long-winded here.
I'm a chatter.
No.
Okay, because I wanted to basically start from like how it started. Yeah. So I'm so grateful when things kicked off for me because I signed, like I said, this lease, didn't have no idea what I was going to do. And in that first like, you know, month or whatever, where I'm like, okay, let me figure out what I'm gonna do here. I like, God already told me it's gonna be a podcast studio. Like he already told me that from like the jump. But I know nothing about podcasting. I don't even have my own podcast yet, you know? So I'm like, man, let's throw some dice. Let's see what else is on the board, God. Let's throw some other stuff, right? So for like 6 months, I'm like toying, like grooming salon suite, tutoring studio.
And wait, hold on. So this is after you bought it, as you were like, you know, renovating the space.
I wasn't even renovating. I was just paying rent.
Wow.
I like to call this the MBA, the hard MBA program. this is the real life.
This is the real life draft pick, right?
This is the real life MBA program.
Wow.
So I decided to sign the lease. I have no idea what I was gonna do. I don't recommend that, right? Like it's only for the ones God choose. It's only for the chosen, okay?
The visionaries, right? The real visionaries.
Yeah, the ones he knows he's gonna execute at the end of the day. So he told me from day one. And what I did though was I tried to seek validation from other people in what God told me. That's where I messed up.
Gotcha.
So I spent 6 months trying to validate what God told me. Which, don't do that. Just don't even waste your time. Don't do that. So it got to the point where I realized I had to silence everyone. Because none of y'all in my shoes, none of y'all actually, a lot of people I was talking to, none of them really had businesses or was even as far as I was in curating a different type of lifestyle for themselves. So I was just like, kind of like, why am I kind of consulting you guys? Like, respectfully, I value your opinion, but it's not serving me best in this space where you probably have less experience than me. So I had to silence everything and I got quiet again. And I was like, hey God, like, so what we doing? Like, for real, Big G, what we doing? So the last 6 months have been like me intentionally building and working on the business. I got a business coach who has a content studio in Georgia. So she walked me through the process because one of the things, like I said, I'm a very cookie cutter girl. So now that I know what direction I was going in, I was like, I need guidance. You know, like I want to make sure I'm doing like the regulatory, the licensing stuff properly. But one of the things she was very helpful with was like, I was scared to like knock down walls. Like, thankfully this was like an old doctor's office. So it worked out with having all these different rooms. Yeah. But like, I needed to make like one room a little bbigger in the back there. I like did a little construction, but I didn't have any of that vision without her. So when she came here, like she just walked me through like, you're now taking up this space. So like, take up this space, like create something that reflects you. And that was like, I needed that. Like, I really did.
But isn't that amazing? Like, right at the time when you decided to say, I have to quiet the noise, right? And I have to like just go into a funnel and I have to really listen to what God spoke to me. That's when the timing, right? However you found her, however she came into your life to be able to guide you right at that time for what you needed.
Yeah.
Right.
And MMA. Yeah. Like MMA was at that same time.
Wow.
And that's why I'm so grateful because I mean, I watched mentorship programs. Right. They're all over Instagram, you know, like you can join a mentorship every single day of the week.
Every
you know?
minute there's somebody looking.
There's somebody launching a mentor. So, but especially those high ticket ones, right? Like you're talking 10K and up. Those are pretty penny, right?
So in yourself.
It's an investment in yourself, and it takes time. At least it took me a few times of watching other people say yes, and I'm trying to figure out why can't I say yes to? Like, why am I attaching my worth to $10,000, you know, or limiting what I can do based off of an investment of $10,000. So yeah, like once I got in that mindset, I was in a mentorship spree.
Wow. Yeah, no, I did the same thing. Like, let's not even go there with the mentorships. Like, that's a whole we're going to do a podcast on mentorships and investment into yourself because it's real. Yeah. So, okay. So basically, you know, once you receive the mentoring from her, you got the guidance from her. Okay. Now here comes the purchases. Yeah. So then what?
So then from there, she, like I said, like she was really good at telling me like setting budget expectations. So the first thing was the construction. Okay. That didn't cost too bad because, you know, I found some handymen to help me out.
Right.
So that worked out. I had one crazy story with a contractor that came and I paid him and he never came back. And it was just crazy.
Yeah.
So, you go through some little hiccups,
Yes.
right? So so it was that. But one of the things, I think the thing I was most excited about was like the decor. I'm also an economist, like I mentioned. So I'm going to make sure like I am getting a good bang for my buck, and that I'm really just still being like budget minded, right? Like this is my first major project. So I did have to like figure out, okay, what's a responsible amount to invest in these certain parts that needs to get done.
Right.
And then also I'm not working, right? I'm investing my full time here too. So making sure that I'm still able to support myself also was part of that.
Got you. So, okay, that is, you just literally just decided to walk in and just step into your dreams, step into your vision, step into what God called you to do. Absolutely amazing. I actually have an episode which you can watch after this episode regarding financial trauma and entrepreneurs, because I think a lot of people don't understand what it really takes when you decide to step into that world, especially when you leave your 9 to 5, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs, they still have a 9 to 5 and they have their business. But when you step away from that 9 to 5, there's not anybody telling you what to do.
There's no one buying your groceries.
There's no one's buying your, it's just you having to make the decisions. And it is it's another world. Right? And there's no explaining it, describing it. You just don't know until you're in it. So you have to make the best decisions, and there are bumps in the road. And, we talked about earlier before the episode, just that thought, I think that happens at some point to all entrepreneurs. And to me, I look at it as the fold or don't fold time, right? Because you may have all these thoughts in your head, like, oh my God, am I really doing this? Like, can I get through this? Maybe I should just shut my business down. Like, you have all these thoughts. And I think that there is a time when you get to like this corner and you have to make a decision about which street you're going to go down, not knowing, just really counting on your vision, because you can't go with where you are in the present. And I know that you've turned that corner. You may not be able to see everything, but you see enough to know that you have to keep on going. And I am just so proud of you, and I'm so happy for you. And just sharing your story, I know that it is going to be inspirational to everybody. And I really appreciate you being here with us today and just going through all of that. Other thing I want to say is shout out to MMA. For those of you that don't know, that is Mailbox Millionaire Academy. And that is the mentorship that we are in. And that is how Kevia and I met. And the community is like no other. It is a community for entrepreneurs to learn about commercial real estate, to learn about personal and business development, to learn about themselves and really what it takes for the things that really drive you to walk into your own destiny, to your vision, to your gift, to your purpose. And there is just no community like it. So if you want to learn more about Mailbox Millionaires, you can definitely leave your questions in the comments, and we will actually post a link as well so that you can find out what we're all about, because we are absolutely dope. We really
are. And I just love the community.
Yeah.
Like I tell people all the time, the first time I met MMA members, I wasn't a member, and you all treated me with like, she's down,
we got pictures. You was in.
I
was like, hey girl, hey, let's go.
It was like undeniably what I needed, who I needed to be around, and like I said, I'm so grateful for the alignment, because Abilene, we went to high school together, and we just kind of like randomly connected again.
Yes.
And then we started seeing each other on like different calls, like different type of like entrepreneur calls. And what stuck out to me is like, as big as New York is, as Brooklyn is, this is the only person that I grew up with that I see is like interested in like doing things similar to my space. So when he started telling me about MMA, I'm like, I already know when's the next enrollment period, because I already know like that's where I need to be.
And that's amazing. And like how everybody's stories are all connected to each other. And shout out to Magic Mogul. Magic Mogul Apolline, because he did an episode with us too. And you can also watch that episode after this one as well. But yeah, it's destiny, right? All of this is destiny. And the biggest thing is what I have found on this journey is that when you decide to make the decision to want more for your life, to want more for your family, things start falling into alignment. It doesn't mean that the challenges and obstacles of life don't happen, but it's how you deal with them. And you have to hold on to that vision, to whatever it is that God told you. And once you do it, it opens up a world that you never knew existed.
And I agree 100%.
Yeah. So, well, again, this has been an amazing interview, and I really appreciate you coming on. And this is not our last interview.
Of course not.
Because I know that this studio is going to blow up. Well, it's already blown up, in terms of in my head. But you are going to have content creators in here, YouTubers. You're going to have all kinds of things going on in this space, and I cannot wait to see it. I am here for all of it, and I am going to prophesy today.
Thank you.
You are going to have more studios than this, and they're going to be not only in Georgia, they will be in other states as well. I see it. So.
I affirm.
Yes. So thank you all for sharing another episode today and being here on Financial Therapy to Prosperity. And I do have a credit tip for the day. So I talked about this before, but when it comes to building your business, it is important for you to make sure that you keep your personal credit intact. The reason why is you want to be able to use other people's money to do that. So you can use your personal credit to leverage in order to start your business credit through business cards and lines of credit. And like I said, I've talked about some specifics with that before, but it is really important that you don't take all of your own money and use that for your business, because then you won't have any money.
Yeah. Can I add to that?
Yes, please.
So I'm so happy you brought that up, because the truth is I would not be able to even be in this position to be in my own studio if I didn't leverage my personal credit, if I didn't get business credit. So I was able to get over $100K in business credit in just a month.
Wow.
And when I sat there and I thought about that it typically takes me a year to make $100K, and I just got $100K in credit in 1 month. That's how you change your life.
Exactly.
That's how you make room to get to that other side, because yes, I can make $100K in a year, but that doesn't mean I have access to $100K, because I got to cover my bills, other things. So when it really comes down to it, you make $100K, but you don't have much to save from that to make those moves in your life.
Yes.
So if you're not leveraging your credit to access capital, that's where you find yourself stuck. That's why you might feel like you don't have resources, because you're not leveraging the tools that you have.
Yes. And that's what happens when business owners fold, because they don't have the capital, and then they've maxed out their personal credit, and then they go to get lending, and they're like, but you don't have any money coming in. You've maxed out your personal credit, so we can't offer you any more money.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for saying that, because I think that will open people's eyes to understanding the importance of getting your credit intact to be able to utilize that to build your business. So I appreciate that.
Yes.
So thank you again for watching us. We really appreciate it. Click the bell and subscribe. And then, leave us a comment on why this content is so beneficial to you, because it's really important to me. Like I said, I read every comment that you guys put, and I really want to know what is valuable to you. So remember that you are worthy, you are valuable, you are your own asset. Take care.